Show Me China has invited 2 sociologists and a scientist to join an experimental film to find out how deputies to the National People's Congress work. Firstly, each of them focuses on one NPC deputy and browses relevant stories and information online. And then they can let the production team know about which perspective they are interested in. Then the crew will set out for filming. Finally, with the 3 mini-films finished, the sociologists and the scientists will watch the films together and share their film reviews. Why did they join this project, and what did they find out about these NPC deputies?
This is the Great Wall Friendship Award.
The sociologist Dr. Mark Levine has been in China for 17 years. He's a holder of a Chinese green card and loves to share his China stories through his music and books. He takes great interest in the life experience of Hou Rong, an NPC deputy and panda biologist.
Personally accepted responsibility for trying to help explain China to people from other countries around the world. Most non-Chinese people have no understanding of how the Chinese government runs. And they can't understand how can this be something that accurately reflects the real problems and real needs of people of China. So I figured this is a wonderful opportunity to give me a chance to broaden my explanations.
Joshua Dominic, originally from the United States, is currently 43 years old, 22 years of which he has spent in Beijing. He is a professional translator with a degree in Chinese studies, focusing on sociology. He would do some research on bus driver Wang Yan, who is also an NPC deputy.
When you first called me, I wasn't really sure exactly what was going on. You said a bus driver is a national representative, and it didn't quite match to me because many of the politicians from where I come from are professionals. That's their job, so they don't have time for another job. So I thought, when you mentioned this to me, first it was, how can this be? And it was interesting just to that's what attracted me, to actually explore what that means and how that works in China.
He asked the shooting crew to arrange a video chat with her, as speaks fluent Mandarin. The shooting crew agreed on this idea. Dr. Marco Gabello has been in China for 10 years. He is from Bolivia. As a senior researcher in quantum physics and spintronics, he tries to find out the application of science in the advance of society in China, and he thinks he can find the answer from the story of Guo Jianhua, a film projectionist and also an NPC deputy.
The history of Miss Guo is quite interesting. She fought for many years to take the science and help many communities to produce peanuts, relieve these people from poverty. I would like to know more on how she did this, and what kind of model she implemented.
Hello, morning.
Good morning. How cold? Snowy.
Yeah, it's snowing. Okay.
Very good. Looking forward to today.
Okay.
This is in the middle, so it's a good one.
Now we have already finished the film. So shall we start?
Sure.
Okay, let's watch it.
In 1994, Hou Rong graduated and landed a job at the Chengdu Giant Panda Breeding Research Base. Due to her outstanding achievements, Hou Rong became a deputy to the 11th, 12th, and 13th National People's Congress.
You had to do much studying and reading to become an NPC member. Did you have any training in this?
开始的时候，其实那个第一次当人大代表的时候，因为我从来没有做过代表的角色，是一脸懵，还不知道代表具体该做什么东西，又要审议各种国家的各种报告的，比如政府的工作报告， 高法和高检的一个报告，还有就是国家的一些大政方针的一个解读和一个了解，还有包括法律法规方面的培训。然后刚开始我是参加了好多次，然后第一个是通过参加那个培训来学习了解，第二个的话其实是向身边的一些老代表学习。
How did you become a member of the NPC?
我是通过四川省的人大代表选举出来的，但他选举的话，他就需要有一个广泛性，要有科技界的，要有基层的，包括来自最基层的那个农村的农民，还有第一线的工人，还有第一线的知识分子，还有对女性的比例，它是有要求的。
In 2017, she put forward a proposal for the construction of a giant panda national park. On October 12, 2021, China officially instituted the country's first batch of national parks, including the Giant Panda National Park. Upon hearing the news, Hurong felt that her deputyship had not been in vain.
What impressed you most?
Well, particularly when she was talking about the makeup and the nature of the National People's Congress. We have all these pictures, and she was talking about it needs to be an accurate representation of the whole population of the province that she's coming from Sichuan province, and she had Chinese ethnic minorities and even migrant workers. So I think that was the most impressive thing, because it's in a lot of places the representatives come from a much narrower group of people. So, and I think this was particularly important for people to understand. She talked about, there's a problem, she writes it down immediately, and that she has shelves of bookcases behind her, and some of which are, I'm sure, about the pandas and the scientific research, and some of them were clearly about the legal process. She had a massive amount of work to do and research on both of those areas. So I think I understand that much better.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Nice to see you again.
Good to see you too.
Yeah.
Beautiful day, huh?
Yes, wonderful day.
Yeah.
And we prepared everything for you guys.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Looking forward to it.
Wang Yan is a grassroots NPC deputy. Wang Yan has an excellent driving record over the years, with 0 accidents and 0 complaints against her, and was deemed most beautiful female driver by the Tianjin Women's Federation.
好的，王老师您好，人大代表，在中国是什么样的一个角色？您觉得？
作为我们来说，也就是要体现人民的利益，传递老百姓的心声。怎么把老百姓的心声带到大会堂？我们反映了人民的愿望，实现人民的期盼。我觉得群众就会越来越信任你，处处细心，处处留心观察。
When cars queue up at the toll station, traffic becomes backed up and congested for a long time, making transport inconvenient. At the first plenary session of the 13th National People's Congress, Wang Yan submitted a proposal to remove some toll stations from the Beijing-Tianjin-Hebei Expressway's main line. In June, the Ministry of Transport invited Wang Yan to participate in a survey on the issue, the result of which led to the proposal being adopted by relevant departments.
接地气，可以听到老百姓的真正的声音。
像有的市民就知道，你是全国人大代表，找我也比较方便，比如说会到车队啊，会打电话到车队啊。
我觉得您可以把您的公交车做大陆人大办公室。
对，有时候市民就说你这个公交车啊，其实就是流动的全国人大代表工作室。
Wang Yan as this National People's Congress deputy is on a bus, and she can and maybe it's just line 8 in Tianjin.
Yeah.
But she's really every day on the ground talking to people, which is something that our national representatives don't do quite that often, unless they're trying to get votes.
Morning, what a snowy day, huh?
Yeah, good.
How are you?
I'm good. Now the video is ready and let's watch it.
Guo Jinhua, a 68-year-old deputy to the National People's Congress, is also a film projectionist. At the age of 23, Guo Jinhua, with her scooter and portable projector, has traveled to dozens of villages and has deepened her relationships with villagers. In recent years, Guo Jinhua has focused on alleviating poverty. Peanuts are one of the main agricultural products of Shangfu District. To help villagers get a better harvest of peanuts, Guo Jinhua contacted the Henan Film and Television Group to make an educational film, We Have a Good Harvest of Peanuts. After watching the film, local farmers learn advanced planting technology joyfully. She is a deputy to the 11th, 12th, and 13th National People's Congress and has earned the title of National Moral Model.
我们最重要的是把农民的需求放在第一位，我们就利用电影大屏幕、电影声形并茂的功能，让农民从中学到更多的科学知识，告诉他们如何用科学的方法致富。我觉得尊重法律和文化对地方的发展是很重要的。要普及文化知识，让农村文化复兴，让普通人能够享受文化知识带来的快乐。
I think another thing that's very important is how each of them incorporates their role within the NPC into their day-to-day work. Yes. It's not a separate, it's a different job, it involves different responsibilities, but they use the arenas and the platforms made available to them. The woman on the bus driver, right? She's got a mobile NPC center, and the woman showing the film is out in the villages, and she's talking to people. People are bringing her problems, she's observing things. So on one level, they're separate, but on the other hand, they're completely integrated.
Absolutely, yeah, I think the same. Because they are in the field, so they can know exactly what are the problems that are happening.
Right, exactly.
In the US, periodically there are some congressional representatives who never go back to their district.
Yeah.
They just stay in Washington, D.C., even during the holidays, the breaks, right? And all of their news is coming through media, it's coming through staff.
The design and the implementation of the national park system can be, brought from the local to the national and made applicable nationwide. I think that's perfectly in line with what I would understand.
Talking about the way that we can find those people can represent their community, represent their own people, giving the ideas and thoughts to the government, and the central government's ministry can collect them and fix the problem. So do you think the whole process is kind of the democracy in China?
Well, I think democracy is basically just a way to make sure that people are getting what they want and need. How problems are solved. Now in China, whether the system is different or not, things seem to be working relatively well. I mean, everywhere has issues, but in China, national parks are being approved and constructed, science is being pushed forward, and people are getting jobs and making families. It seems that this current structure is working quite well from what we've seen so far. So, yeah.
It's different than many countries are used to, but as Josh says, it seems to be working. And ultimately, that's the most critical thing, even though it may be different than we're used to.
Well, what I can tell you is that maybe all these voices, from different sectors are heard by the government. And I think the mission of the government is to serve people. So if we say that from that perspective, serving people and doing and solving their problems is democracy, then yeah, I would say that. Yeah.
Let me add one thing. It's functioning in a beneficial way, and has been functioning in a beneficial way that's resulted in lots of improvement and advances and gains.
Throughout its century of growth, the party's always led, fighting with and for the people under the flag that's red. The progress that we've seen so far is a miracle, and yet We can't rest on our laurels, we must that not forget. When theory and practice unify, so much can be achieved, and progress can be realized. It's so hard to believe. We owe this to the teachings of the CPC that offers hope for everyone, including